Chapter 7, Mobilizing People, the Power of Collective Vision. The Practice of a Rebuilder. Action, teamwork, resilience. Every vision eventually demands movement. Prayer births purpose, planning shapes direction, but practice brings transformation. What separates dreamers from builders is the courage to act, to rise from the comfort of intention and step into the tension of execution. Nehemiah didn't rebuild Jerusalem by inspiration alone. He did it through intentional leadership, coordinated effort, and unshakable resilience. Once the king's favor was secured, the real work began, organizing teams, assigning responsibilities, confronting opposition, and sustaining momentum in the face of exhaustion. The dream now had dust, sweat, and noise attached to it. This is where leadership matures, where faith is tested and vision meets resistance. Every rebuilder must learn that progress requires both perseverance and partnership. You cannot rebuild alone. Every great work is the sum of collective strength and shared conviction. In this section, we move from concept to construction. You'll learn how to turn your plans into motion, inspire others to join your cause, and keep building even when the walls around you seem to crumble. Because rebuilding, whether of a city, a business, or a life, is not a momentary act, it's a disciplined practice. Mobilizing people, the power of collective vision. No great vision is fulfilled in isolation. Every divine mandate, no matter how inspired, requires the strength of people who believe, build, and bear the burden together. A vision may begin in one heart, but it is sustained by many hands. Even the most anointed leader must learn the art of mobilizing others, because divine assignments are rarely personal, they are generational. Nehemiah understood this deeply. Though he carried the vision to rebuild Jerusalem's walls, he knew that the work could not rest on his shoulders alone. He might have received the burden, but the building required a body. Visionaries often see what others cannot, but leaders must also help others see what they do. That is where true transformation begins. One person's revelation becomes everyone's conviction. When Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem, he didn't rush to build. He walked the ruins in silence, studying every crack and fallen stone. He took time to feel the weight of the city's desolation, not just its physical state, but its emotional one. The people were weary, ashamed, and directionless. Decades of disappointment had drained their will to try again. Yet Nehemiah knew that before he could lift the first stone, he had to lift their spirits. Then came his defining moment of leadership. He gathered the elders, priests, and families together and spoke life into their brokenness. His words were simple yet powerful. "You see the trouble we are in. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace." Nehemiah 2:17. Notice the language. He didn't say, "You rebuild," nor did he say, "I will rebuild." He said, "Let us rebuild." In that single phrase, he turned spectators into participants. That moment transformed scattered residents into a unified movement. Nehemiah didn't merely share instructions, he shared ownership. He gave them more than a task, he gave them identity. He helped them see the wall not as his project but as their responsibility, their honor, and their legacy. The broken stones became symbols of collective destiny. That's the power of collective vision. When people see themselves in the story, they commit beyond obligation. Duty may bring hands to the worksite, but shared vision brings hearts to the mission. It is no longer about completing a project, it's about restoring a people. Just as Nehemiah discovered, vision achieves momentum when it moves from one man's burden to a community's belief. Mobilizing people, the power of collective vision, from followers to builders. Each family repaired the section of the wall nearest their home. Nehemiah 3. Goldsmiths, perfumers, priests, and merchants. People from different walks of life became builders united by a single cause. It was a remarkable sight. Individuals who had nothing in common, socially or economically, found purpose in a shared mission. The task was distributed, but the spirit was one. Nehemiah's genius wasn't just in strategy, it was in delegation. By assigning each family to rebuild the section closest to their home, he made the vision personal. The work was no longer abstract, it was visible, tangible, and connected to their daily lives. When people saw that their section of the wall protected their own household, their investment deepened. They weren't just following instructions, they were building their future. By dividing the work, Nehemiah multiplied engagement. He understood a timeless leadership principle. People give their best when they have ownership, not just obligation. When leaders create space for others to contribute meaningfully, they move their teams from spectatorship to stewardship. Leadership is not about doing everything yourself. It's about helping others see how their piece fits into the larger picture. Every worker, no matter how small their role, felt indispensable to the outcome. And when individuals begin to see their significance, excellence becomes natural. The wall rose not because Nehemiah had unmatched skill, but because he knew how to unlock collective strength. His leadership transformed a discouraged population into a determined workforce. Vision inspired them, unity sustained them, and ownership propelled them. That's the secret of true mobilization. When people stop seeing themselves as followers and start acting as builders, progress becomes unstoppable. The principle, tradition, fuels unstoppable progress. A shared vision turns a task into a cause. When people catch the same fire that burns in a leader's heart, barriers crumble and fatigue fades. That's why wise leaders don't merely communicate goals, they cultivate conviction. They don't just tell people what to do, they show them why it matters. In every great movement, progress begins when I becomes we. True leadership transforms individual effort into collective energy. Jesus modeled this with his disciples. He didn't just preach the kingdom, he invited others to participate in building it. His call was inclusive, empowering, and purpose-driven. Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. That single invitation turned ordinary fishermen into world changers because they saw themselves as partners in divine purpose, not passive observers. Likewise, Nehemiah understood that progress required more than manpower. It required shared ownership. He transformed despairing citizens into determined builders because he gave them more than instructions. He gave them identity. Each hammer stroke became an act of faith. Each stone laid a statement of unity. Shared vision is the multiplier of momentum. It aligns hearts, mobilizing people. The power of collective vision synchronizes effort and sustains commitment long after excitement fades. When people move in the same direction for the same reason, their unity becomes their strength, and progress becomes unstoppable. Mobilizing in leadership and business. In leadership and business, mobilization is not about giving orders, it's about awakening ownership. It is the art of transforming people from employees into stakeholders, from task doers into vision carriers. When individuals see their daily tasks as part of something larger than themselves, work becomes meaningful and productivity becomes purpose-driven. Successful organizations thrive on this principle. Howard Schultz didn't just sell coffee, he built a culture around connection, warmth, and belonging. Starbucks became more than a brand. It became a shared experience where both employees and customers felt part of a greater story. Likewise, Elon Musk doesn't merely hire engineers. He recruits believers, people who see themselves as pioneers of a multi-planetary mission. His teams work with a passion that transcends paychecks because they are united by a cause that feels historic. Great leaders, whether in ministry, business, or community life, don't attract workers, they attract co-builders. They translate vision into values and tasks into testimonies. They help others see that every contribution, no matter how small, is essential to the collective success of the mission. When your team understands the why, they will find strength for the how. Clarity breeds conviction, and conviction births commitment. It's not the size of the vision that moves people. It's the shared belief that their role matters in bringing it to life. Mobilization, therefore, is not manipulation. It's inspiration. It's the leader's ability to align hearts before hands, to turn purpose into movement, and to transform ordinary effort into extraordinary impact. The practice: how to mobilize people effectively. Mobilizing people is both an art and a discipline. It requires emotional intelligence, strategic clarity, and spiritual insight. Nehemiah's leadership reveals that mobilization is not about driving people. It's about drawing out their best. To do that effectively, every leader must master 4 key practices. 1. Communicate vision clearly. A vision that cannot be repeated, cannot be remembered. Great leaders understand that clarity is more powerful than complexity. Nehemiah didn't use lofty speeches or complicated blueprints. He simply said, "Come, let us rebuild the wall." His words were direct, compelling, and easy to echo. When your message is clear, people can own it, spread it, and sustain it. Keep the vision simple, consistent, and anchored in purpose. Because what people understand, they can reproduce. 2. Empower, don't control. True leadership releases, not restricts. Empowerment gives people room to think, create, and take initiative. Nehemiah trusted each group to build their section of the wall without micromanaging their process. He set the direction and trusted their diligence. When mobilizing people, the power of collective vision. Leaders hold too tightly, they suffocate creativity. But when they empower wisely, they multiply capability. Trust is the soil where commitment grows. 3. Delegate strategically. Delegation is not the dumping of duties. It's the distribution of destiny. Nehemiah assigned each family to repair the section nearest their home. He understood that ownership increases with proximity. When people feel personally connected to the outcome, excellence becomes natural. Strategic delegation means placing the right people in the right place for the right reason. It's how leaders turn followers into partners. 4. Recognize and celebrate progress. People repeat what gets rewarded. Celebration is fuel for continued effort. Nehemiah often acknowledged the builder's progress, and when the wall was completed, they rejoiced together. Recognition affirms value, strengthens morale, and reinforces unity. Every milestone, no matter how small, is a chance to say, "We're getting there, and your effort matters." Momentum grows when people feel seen and valued. When these practices align, leaders create an environment where people don't just work, they believe. And when belief meets purpose, progress becomes unstoppable. Building teams that builds together. Teamwork doesn't just happen, it's intentionally built. Nehemiah's success wasn't because he had superhuman strength or unlimited resources. It was because he inspired ordinary people to build extraordinarily well together. In the face of mockery, fatigue, and external threats, the people didn't crumble. They collaborated. Scripture records, the people had a mind to work. Nehemiah 4:6. That phrase captures the essence of unified effort, heart, purpose, and endurance moving in the same direction. In leadership, whether in ministry, business, or social enterprise, that mind to work is the greatest asset a leader can cultivate. It's what keeps teams motivated when budgets are tight, deadlines loom, or critics grow loud. Teams built on shared conviction don't just show up for tasks, they show up for each other and for the mission. To build teams that build together, leaders must practice 3 vital disciplines. 1. Clarify roles. Ambiguity breeds frustration, but clarity creates focus. Nehemiah didn't leave anyone guessing. Each person knew exactly which section of the wall they were responsible for. Clarity helps individuals see where their contribution fits into the larger whole. When roles are defined, expectations are met. When they're vague, energy is wasted. In modern organizations, this means setting measurable goals, defining success clearly, and ensuring everyone understands both their responsibilities and the team's shared purpose. 2. Model commitment. People follow authenticity, not authority. Nehemiah didn't just direct the builders, he stood among them. His presence under pressure inspired courage. In leadership, consistency speaks louder. Mobilizing people, the power of collective vision, than charisma. When your team sees you showing up with integrity and persistence, they'll mirror your attitude. A leader's discipline sets the emotional tone for the entire group. As one business principle goes, the culture of any organization is shaped by the worst behavior a leader is willing to tolerate. 3. Cultivate belonging. Belonging transforms employees into advocates and volunteers into visionaries. Nehemiah fostered a sense of community by reminding the people, fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. Nehemiah 4:14, he tied their work to their identity. When people feel connected to something bigger than themselves, they bring their best even in hardship. In business, this translates to nurturing a culture of trust, gratitude, and shared wins. When leaders combine clarity, consistency, and community, teams become unstoppable. They don't just build walls, they build legacies. Executing vision through people. Every vision, no matter how divine or strategic, requires human hands to bring it to life. Leadership, therefore, is not just about direction, it's about orchestration. Nehemiah's success wasn't because he had the most resources, but because he knew how to draw people into the mission until it became theirs. Execution through people means transforming inspiration into coordination and coordination into tangible results. Start with a story. Every movement begins with meaning. Before Nehemiah asked the people to build, he told them why the wall mattered. It was a matter of identity, dignity, and divine purpose. In leadership and business, data motivates the mind, but story moves the heart. When Howard Schultz shared the story of Starbucks as a third place for human connection, it turned customers into community. Whether you're leading a ministry or managing a company, always begin with why. People don't commit to tasks, they commit to purpose. Cast vision repeatedly. Vision fades in the noise of daily work. Nehemiah kept reminding the people, our God will fight for us. Repetition is not redundancy, it's reinforcement. The best leaders are chief reminders. They echo the purpose until it becomes the culture. In organizations, visions must be restated at meetings, reflected in actions, and reinforced in values. When vision is consistently spoken, it becomes collectively owned. Empower champions no leader builds alone. Nehemiah had section leaders who motivated families and tradesmen around them. He identified passionate people and gave them responsibility. In modern leadership, these are your culture carriers, team leads, managers, or influencers who amplify your message. Empower them to lead, innovate, and inspire others. Delegating authority multiplies impact. Controlling everything diminishes it. Create systems of collaboration. Vision thrives where structure supports it. Nehemiah divided the wall into sections so everyone knew what to build and where to report. Systems don't kill passion, they channel it. In business, this means defining workflows, communication pathways, and accountability systems that make teamwork natural, not forced. Clarity eliminates confusion, and structure turns enthusiasm into efficiency. Mobilizing people, the power of collective vision. Celebrate collective wins. Nehemiah didn't wait until the final stone was laid to celebrate. He recognized progress, encouraged perseverance, and affirmed contribution. Every acknowledgement fuels morale. In leadership and enterprise, celebrating milestones, no matter how small, builds momentum. When people see that their effort matters, they invest even more. Progress celebrated becomes progress sustained. Ultimately, executing vision through people is about trust, clarity, and shared ownership. The wall of Jerusalem was rebuilt because ordinary people became extraordinary contributors. When leaders value their people as partners in purpose, not instruments of productivity, vision becomes unstoppable. The power of collective vision. Every great rebuilding effort, whether in ministry, business, or community, depends on the unity of many hearts under one purpose. The miracle of Nehemiah's wall was not in the materials, but in the mindset. The stone and mortar were tools. The real force was a community bound by shared conviction. When people unite under divine direction, obstacles shrink and progress accelerates. As Genesis 11:6 reminds us, even in the wrong context, nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. How much more potent is collective action when alignment is guided by God's hand, infused with purpose and clarity? Every leader must eventually learn what Nehemiah understood. Vision without people remains a dream, and people without vision remain scattered. True transformation occurs when strategy and spirit converge in a team that shares both heart and responsibility. The work becomes unstoppable, not because of sheer manpower, but because each individual sees themselves as an essential part of the mission. Your greatest resource isn't money, machinery, or methods. It's people. Mobilize them with vision, empower them with trust, and unite them with purpose. Equip them, encourage them, and celebrate them. When hearts move together toward a common goal, what seems impossible becomes inevitable. Destiny is built when vision and people march in unison and heaven moves alongside them.